Could you just spell out for us your understanding of where we are with the crisis of Russia surrounding Ukraine?
Well, unfortunately, we're not anywhere near the end or the beginning of this crisis, which means that we're somewhere in basically a rapidly evolving situation, and I think we're going to be in for the long haul of tensions around Ukraine. So, the basic message is buckle up, because this is going to be very difficult. When it comes to the Russians and Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, the whole issue of Ukraine is very personal. We can see, instead of any kind of de-escalation of tensions in Ukraine, continued escalation. There are, repeated reports that they may have moved some troops, but then reports the very next moment that more troops have been amassed on the border. And the main point is that the current Russian military posture against Ukraine is one for preparation for an offensive. It is not defensive in any way whatsoever. And in fact, they've moved troops from the Russian Far East, with the border with China, that one might think you wouldn't want to leave lightly guarded, to the borders with Ukraine and Belarus, which in theory is a separate country. Tensions with Ukraine on the Russian half, but it goes back for 30 years.
Senior officials in the White House talked about an additional 7,000 troops. What does that change? Does that change anything about the way you think about the situation?
I mean, it really doesn't, because for quite some time, I myself have drawn the conclusion that Russia means to ensure that Ukraine doesn't go anywhere, in the sense that Ukraine, from Russia's perspective, has no right for any kind of independent foreign and security policy, and that just in the thinking of the Kremlin and Putin in particular, that Ukraine belongs to Russia. So by any kind of means, be it cyber attacks, subversive activities, military pressure, the Russians call this military technical responses, Russia intends to make sure that Ukraine is completely and utterly surrounded and constricted in every possible way. So it is entirely possible that Russia will choose to invade. It already has invaded. The annexation of Crimea in 2014, the sparking off of war in the Donbass, the eastern Donbass region, those were all parts of an invasion.
Seems to be a lot of threads raising the tension yet again.
What Putin is looking for is operational surprise, and what the United States government has been doing with all of these alerts that AP and others have been receiving is to try to kind of fight Russian disinformation with information. The government continuously warns, people think it's a bluff, they think that the Russians won't do something. I mean, there's been a whole host of expulsions of US officials. The Russians have been putting pressure on our embassy. The fact that our ambassador is still there, though, is an important signal, because they will want to have someone to deal with directly. And Ambassador Sullivan, the current ambassador in Moscow, has been there for some time. He was appointed prior to the Biden administration by President Trump, and he's well respected by all sides in the United States and in Russia as well. So we'll have to watch that very closely. All of these warnings are intended to mobilize us, to get us to be alert to the danger. That Putin has given Russia a whole host of options of things that he can do. So we will not have changed the goals. The goal is of getting a grip on Ukraine, preventing Ukraine from going off on its own independent foreign security policy. But Putin might then choose other options that are before him. Cyber operations, subversive activity. They could try to poison President Zelensky of Ukraine. They've certainly done that on plenty of occasions. One of the other previous presidents of Ukraine, Yushchenko, was poisoned with dioxin. Irrespective of whether they invade or not, they're under attack, they're under siege, they're being held hostage.